My name is Steven. I'm 18 years old and a senior in high school, right in the middle of preparing for college entry exams. Everybody in my family, including relatives, is a doctor. I come from a fully doctor family. Because of that, of course, I was also aiming for medical school. My older brother John was 5 years older than me, and he's also going to medical school right now. In the future, my parents have said that my brother and I would take over the hospital that they own as equal business partners. However, I was a little uncomfortable about running the hospital business with my brother. John was good in school, but because he was always at the top of his class, he had a habit of looking down on people.
John, how are your studies going?
Easy. Studying at medical school is as easy as breakfast to me.
That's my son, but you shouldn't relax too much, especially in regards to your medical license.
Do you really think I would fail? Don't put me in the same boat as the other family member over there. I'm gonna get my medical license easily in one go. And after I do my residency at some university hospital with your connections, Dad, eventually, I'm going to work at your hospital and do all the surgeries that insurance doesn't cover and squeeze out money from everyone. That's the default route.
Haha, you're quite the clever guy. However, if you fail, you won't be forgiven.
Leave it to me. Whoa, what are you saying? To my father and my brother, the patients were like peasants to them, and apparently, they only saw them as their source of money. My mother was also a doctor, but she also had the same way of thinking, and she was nodding her head at my brother and father's conversation. However, I don't think like my brother. Even if I become a doctor, I want to become a doctor that the patients would be happy with, and they could be grateful to. But before I get there, first I need to be accepted to medical school. That's why now I'm fully deep in my studies. It's January, and today was finally the day of the college entry exam. I was fully prepared for the exam. I know it sounds silly to say myself, but I had pretty good grades in school, and instead of sleep, I put my all into my studies. So even though I felt nervous, I wasn't worried. After this exam day, I'm going to receive offers from a number of medical schools, and then I'm going to go into my dream National Medical University. It's gonna be fine. I know I can do it. I need to believe in myself. However, an unimaginable incident occurred that day. As I was crossing the street, a truck that ignored the red lights suddenly came crashing into me. Ah! I was hit and thrown across the road by that truck, and in incredible pain. After that, I don't really remember anything. 2 months later, time flew by, and it was already March. And even though it had been 2 months since the accident, I was still in the hospital. Although my life was saved in that car accident, the doctor said at one point my life was in danger. Even after I regained consciousness, my whole body was covered in broken bones and injuries, and I wasn't even able to get up out of bed for over 1 month. Of course, the college entrance exam was the least of my worries. Even though I had no choice, that means I'm not going to college next year. Well, at least my life was saved, so I guess I can study even more for another year and carry my hopes into next year. That's what I thought. However, for my parents and my older brother, that wasn't the case. When the rest of my family came to the hospital room, this is what they said to me, laying in the hospital bed.
It's already March, Steven, and this year, you failed the college entrance exam. So because of that, you're going to be leaving our house.
What? I was shocked by my father's sudden words. Why? Isn't that obvious? It's because you're the embarrassment of our family of doctors.
That's exactly right. How can we face anybody and tell them that our son isn't going to medical school? Even though John and all of his cousins have gotten into medical school in one try, Steven, you're the only one that failed the entrance exam.
But even if you say that, I was caught in an accident! There's nothing I can do about it! I was stuck in the hospital this whole time, so there was no way I would be able to get in! What was I supposed to do when they called that a failure?
Nothing you can do about it? If you were to become a doctor, how are you going to explain it to people if you caused a medical accident? Are you going to say that the accident wasn't your fault? That there's nothing you can do?
Well, that's...
No matter what kind of excuse you try to make, failure is failure. And this is all because you took the wrong steps in the first place.
No, wait! So that means that you're the failure of the family. That's why your parents are cutting you off. Now you're just dragging us, so hurry up and get out.
As our last show of pity, we will pay your medical bills until you are discharged from the hospital. However, once you're discharged, we're not letting you back into our house. You're going to figure out your own life by yourself.
Wait, Dad, are you serious? Dad! Mom! John! But you're my family! Well, as long as I'm here, Dad's hospital future is also secured. So they can just think of me as their only son from the beginning. Anyway, I need to study. So I'm gonna go home. Well then, take care! Those were their last words. And then my parents and my brother turned around and walked out of my hospital room. I was left alone in the hospital bed, and all I could do was watch my family, my dreams for the future, and my hope disappear. 1 year later. 1 year had passed since then. And that year was full of so much struggle that I don't even want to remember it. I graduated high school with nowhere to live, and I didn't even have any guardians to look after me. I didn't think any normal person would be able to imagine that life. But I worked hard, and during that year, I stepped up from becoming an unemployed high school graduate to a full-time employee. Right now, I'm working at a law firm, even though it's small, and I do small tasks around the office every day. When that law firm put out a listing for the job, there should have been a lot of other applicants for the position, but I'm eternally grateful to the lawyer, Miss Penny, for hiring me, even though I only had a high school degree. However, now that I think about it, why was I hired? I thought it was strange, so I decided to ask Miss Penny in between work one day. Professor Penny?
Oh, Stephen, what is it?
I know this is a strange thing to ask, but why did you hire me out of all the applicants? I was unemployed and only graduated from high school. I don't have any sort of certifications, nor did I have any recommendations either. When I said that, Miss Penny chuckled.
I do believe I have an eye for seeing people. I thought that you would take your work seriously and that you'd be able to pick things up quickly as well. After working with you these last 3 months, I was thinking that I made the right decision for you.
Thank you very much!
Seriously, I couldn't agree more. Ever since you joined the office, my mom is always saying that the paperwork has decreased a lot, and that's been a huge help here. Here, Mr. Stephen, some tea for you.
Miss Penny's daughter, Miss Page, handed me a cup of hot tea. Thanks, Miss Page, but pouring the tea is my job. I can do that.
It's fine. I wanted to take a break too.
Miss Page was currently a college student, and in order to become the successor to Miss Penny's company, she was studying law at law school to become a lawyer. Right now, she works part-time to help her mother, and comes to the law firm about twice a week.
But you know, you learned the work quickly and you seem pretty smart. I'm sure if you tried, you should have been able to go to college. Was it family reasons?
I didn't know what to say. Until then, I hadn't spoken to Miss Penny about my family situation. I didn't want to remember my parents or my brother, and I felt like talking about myself was just asking for pity, and I didn't want that. However, Miss Penny asked me with kind eyes, so I felt the urge to open up about everything that happened until then. So that's what happened.
I had no idea. You must have really suffered to get here.
When I finished my story, I felt like I saw some tears glisten in Miss Penny's eyes. However, when I looked over, Miss Page was sobbing next to me. Miss Page, what's the matter?
Because I feel so sad for you, Mr. Stephen! Oh dear, Paige, you shouldn't be the one crying. However, I also can't accept what your parents and brother did. Just because you weren't able to pass your college entry exam, I can't believe they would kick you out of the family. Especially when it was because of an unfortunate accident.
But there's nothing I can do about it. It's true that in the medical world, one small mistake can cost a life, and perhaps with my one mistake, I'm a failure already.
Our law firm handles cases from medical accidents as well, so no matter how careful you might be, a medical accident is inevitable. The problem there is the reason behind it. If it was due to a human error or a true misfortune. If it was an avoidable accident or not, that's what we have to be able to see through.
For example, if they try a surgery with a very low success rate because of the patient's strong wishes, and because of that the patient passes away during surgery, sometimes the patient's families can try to sue the hospital. But you can't call cases like that an accident.
And plus, I'm a lawyer. Even if there were to be somebody who committed a crime, it's a lawyer's job to make sure that they can always get back on their feet and start a new life. As long as you're working at my law firm, I don't want to hear you say that one small mistake that wasn't even your fault makes you a failure.
Yes, I'm sorry. I quietly apologized. But then, Miss Penny was silent, as she seemed to be thinking, and a few months later, she opened her mouth again.
Hey you, do you have any desire to become a lawyer?
Excuse me? Lawyer? I was shocked. What on earth was she about to say next? There's no way that I could become a lawyer. I only graduated high school.
Do you not know this? There are people out there who have become lawyers after only graduating from high school. There is the option, like Paige, to go to college and study and go get your master's in law and become a lawyer. But as long as you can pass the law exam and then pass the bar, it doesn't matter whether you only graduated from high school or even middle school. You can still become a lawyer.
That might be true, but how many people are there that actually become lawyers just from taking the exams?
Who knows? Generally speaking, they say the success rate for passing a law exam is about 3%.
3%? That's a devastating number. There's no way I can do it. For me to become a lawyer? There's no way.
If you think it's impossible, then that's fine too. I won't force you. But you know...
Miss Penny looked at me with very strong eyes.
But you know, Stephen, this is a crucial moment in your life right now. And being thrown away by your family, are you going to live the rest of your life in darkness thinking that you were a failure? Or are you going to give yourself another chance and open up a new road for yourself?
Miss Penny's gaze was sharp, and there was power behind her words. And that glare and those words snapped me out of me feeling sorry for myself. That's right. I can't stay like this forever. All right, I'll do it. I'm going to become a lawyer. That's when I decided that I have a whole 3% of possibility. I'm going to do it. I'm going to become a lawyer, and I'm not going to let myself or anybody say that I'm a failure in life. From there, my days of studying like hell began. I couldn't even compare it to studying for college entry exams in high school. Compared to now, that was like child's play. While continuing to work at Miss Penny's law firm, I began studying for my law exam. Of course, I didn't slip up on my work either, and Miss Penny was kind enough to explain the law to me with the cases that she had on hand. At night, I remained at the law firm, and I was studying until late into the night every day. After college, Miss Page would also come by, and she would explain the lectures that she attended in college. She would also say, by teaching others that always help me study, Even though she must be tired from her own studies in school, I truly am grateful. Not only that, but Miss Page was also extremely brilliant, so the way that she explained everything was really easy to understand. In any spare time outside of work, from morning until night, I was having a stare down with sample classes. I was lucky to even get 2 hours of sleep every day. That's what my life was like. And then, 7 years later, 8 years after I was kicked out of my own home, I was finally able to become a lawyer. I passed the law exam as well as the bar, and I became paralegal. I was finally able to wear a lawyer badge on my chest.
Congratulations, Professor Stephen. Starting today, you are officially a lawyer. You worked really hard these last 7 years.
Thank you very much. This is all thanks to you, Miss Penny. And you too, Miss Page.
Congrats! Starting today, you and I are both lawyers together. Can't wait to work with you.
During those 7 years, Miss Page also graduated from law school and passed the bar, and at the same time as me, she also became a lawyer.
Well then, starting today as lawyers, just like me, I'm going to have you both working plenty. So to begin with, I'm going to give one of the cases that I have to you and Paige so the two of you can work together and give it a shot. It's a bit of a big case for brand new lawyers, but it is a case that should be easy to win, so compared to the rest, I think it should be easy to do.
Yes! Thank you very much! I'm going to do my best! As a brand new lawyer, I was full of hope. But then, at that moment, one phone call came to the law firm. Yes? This is Penny Law Agency. How can I help you? When I heard the voice on the other end of the phone line, I was shocked! To my disbelief, the person calling was the voice of my brother John, who kicked me out of the family 8 years ago. John? Is that you? Steven, is that you? I finally found you! Listen up, you need to hurry up and come back! Our family's in trouble! What on earth is going on? I couldn't wrap my head around what was happening. 3 days later, 3 days after the phone call from John, my older brother actually came to the law firm. Apparently, he came to receive some legal counseling.
I see. So to put it simply, this is the situation, right? The hospital where you currently work that is owned by your parents, as the doctor in charge when you were about to perform surgery, you took the wrong patient, and because you cut an organ from a healthy person, you're being sued for a medical mistake.
That's right! That bastard! He started saying that he's going to take us to court if we don't pay the settlement fee! Who does he think he is? I heard that this law firm was really strong when it comes to medical mistakes, so I'm counting on you to make this annoying patient who's trying to sue us or whatever shut up!
That being said, in reality, you did take the wrong patient. I do believe that it's only natural for the patient to be angry.
But even if you say that, if they didn't want to be mistaken, then they should have written their name on their stomach or something! We have multiple patients and we're busy! I don't have time to be paying attention to each and every patient! What the hell is this guy saying? Why doesn't he put himself in the shoes of the patient who was given a surgery that he didn't need? Anyway, there's no way I'm going to let that stupid old patient get in the way of my brilliant future! Oh, but thank goodness that you're here, Steven. It's a lot easier to work with you if there's family involved, and I'm sure you're going to be able to make the law firm fees a little cheaper with a family discount, right? Goodness, taking me to court as a joke. Everything is just costing me more money. What a pain. John seemed to think that it was a given that Miss Penny was going to take his case. I glanced over at Miss Penny, and with a very calm face, she answered him.
I see. I understand the contents of your request. Well then, are you planning on requesting the law services of the Penny Law Firm?
What? Obviously I am. That's why I'm here.
I hate to say this, but at our law firm, we are not able to accept your request.
What? Why not? He must not have in his wildest dreams thought that he would be denied. John was furious and started attacking Miss Penny. You're a lawyer, aren't you? It's your job to use the law when I ask you to!
It's true that that is my job, but we also have the rights to deny any jobs that we don't want to accept, especially in a case like this that is sure to lose in court. I'm sure that there isn't a law firm anywhere that would want to accept it.
Lose?
I've actually looked into a couple of medical mistakes from your hospital, and I've also asked around for reviews of your hospital. And my, was it quite the disaster. You act like your patients aren't even humans. You don't confirm anything properly. Your exams are not thorough. You look down on your nurses, and you don't listen to any reports. Taking in the wrong patient for the wrong surgery, I'm not surprised it happened.
What?
At my law firm, if it were to be an accident that happened out of pure misfortune, and that was unavoidable, I will stand in as a lawyer in order to protect the valuable stance of a doctor. But for somebody who takes advantage of your position as a doctor, and doesn't even treat humans like humans, I don't want to lift a finger for you.
No way! You have to help me! What am I going to do if you say no? When it comes to medical accidents in court, I heard that this law firm hasn't lost! I know! I bet you're just trying to negotiate with me to make me pay a higher fee!
How sad that you only have money in your mind. Both my mother and I, and all of the lawyers who are here at our firm, are on the side of justice. We can't look after an evil doctor.
What the hell did you say?
And plus, I'm very sorry, but even though we've listened to what you had to say for legal counseling, we can't accept any requests from you at this law firm to begin with.
Why not? Miss Penny then glanced over at me. That was when I stood up, and I handed Johnny my business card. Apologies for the delayed introduction. My name is Steven, lawyer at Penny Law Firm. I'm currently the lawyer appointed to a case for the patient who was given the wrong surgery due to a mistake at your hospital. Not long from now, you will be receiving an inquiry from me in regards to the plaintiff's physical and emotional suffering due to this case, and a notice for the settlement fees. I look forward to your cooperation.
What? You're a lawyer? But how on earth?
As long as you try, you can start over in life however many times you want. This professor here taught me that.
As the representative of the patient, we will be going after your hospital. So if I were to stand on the side of your hospital as your lawyer, then it wouldn't work for us at all. Terribly sorry that we can't be of any help to you.
This is going to be Stephen and mine's first job, so we're gonna put our all into it.
Oh dear. Don't forget that I'm right behind you. The lawyers from my law firm are going to work together, and we're going to bring your hospital down, so I sincerely hope you're ready.
No way! Help me! Please help me! If you do that, then what's gonna happen to us?
Perhaps you're going to become failures in life.
Wait a minute! Stephen, you're my brother, aren't you? Don't you have any desire to help us? We're your family! Please help us!
My older brother got down on his knees to beg me, but I calmly brushed off his hand. This isn't a joke. When I was hospitalized and I needed the help from my family more than anybody, you guys were the ones who refused to help me. That's why I don't have any intention of helping you. I hope the three of you go down in flames together.
No way!
John collapsed on the spot, and he started sobbing and howling.
Oh my, it's already been an hour. Your time for this legal counseling is over, so please do show yourself out the door.
As Miss Page said that, she forced John, who was spread out on the ground, to stand up, and she tried to kick him out of the law firm. However, I stopped my brother one last time. Oh, John! Wait a minute!
Stephen! Have you had a change of heart? I knew it! I knew that my little brother would come around! That we still had our family connection!
Here, this. With tears streaming down his face, I handed John a piece of paper.
What is this?
An invoice. For 1 hour of legal counseling, that's $100.
Thank you for your business.
After that, the results in court were, of course, our complete victory. And the plaintiff was able to get a very high settlement fee. When it was finalized in court, the plaintiff and his family had tears in their eyes as they thanked us. When I saw their faces, I thought from the bottom of my heart that I was so glad I was able to become a lawyer. My brother and my parents were stuck having to pay a very high settlement fee, but the incident that they took the wrong patient into a surgery was spread throughout society, and so many patients pulled out of the hospital that they eventually collapsed. My dad, my mom, and my brother, all three of them were left carrying debt and unemployed. Because they'd been wearing their position as doctors on their sleeve and looking down upon everybody around them, not one person wanted to help them. But, well, for those people who didn't even try to help their own family members, it was only a given. Now with nothing but their debt, I heard that the three of them had to move to a rundown apartment, and they're having to work hard labor jobs to make ends meet.
Well then, we're going to keep working hard. There are lots of people who are waiting for our help in this world. Too many more to count.
Yes, ma'am! As a lawyer, I wanted to become a strong and kind person that can continue to help more people in this world. And then I hope I can say it to somebody someday. That you can't let yourself or anybody else call you a failure in life just because of one mistake. The name's Paul. I'm a 37-year-old salaryman. Today, my wife Rachel and I are moving into my family home where my mom Penny was living by herself. My little sister Paige also helped us with moving in. And right now, we're all slurping on some soba noodles together. Rachel lost both of her parents when she was younger, and she always said that she wanted to live with her in-laws when we got married. Aren't you glad, Rachel?
Yeah, and these noodles that your mom made are really delicious. Well, Rachel, you're slurping them so excitedly that you have a noodle coming out of your nose. What? No way!
Goodness! Here, a tissue.
Thanks. Must be nice to be you, Paul, to have gotten such a cute and beautiful wife. Not at all. Beautiful. Oh, you're making me blush, Paige. You're blushing with a noodle coming out of your nose.
And so, when we first moved in, everybody got along well. However, about a week after we had moved in, that happiness all came crumbling down. One night, when I finished work, I was walking home from the nearest train station when
Oh, is that you, Paul? Good evening.
this person was Miss Melissa. She lived in this neighborhood, and just like us, her husband John and her recently moved back into the neighborhood to live with John's mother, Miss Tammy. For the record, Melissa and Rachel are good friends. Good evening. Are you grocery shopping?
Yes, we've run out of alcohol.
Miss Melissa showed me her tote bag with 3 bottles in it. Are you going to be drinking together with your family? You must all get along so well.
No, I hear that you and Rachel and Miss Penny get along better than anybody, though. It must be nice. I'm so jealous. And not only that, but Rachel is so beautiful, and you're so handsome too, Paul.
After a few minutes of making small talk, I came back home, but then... Huh? What's going on? When I walked into the living room, my mom and Rachel were facing each other, sitting in silence. My mom was glaring at Rachel, and Rachel was looking down at the floor. Both of you, what are you doing? Neither of them seemed like they were going to answer me. But Rachel was the first one to open her mouth.
I'm sorry, Miss Penny, but Melissa is my friend and... All right then, I shouldn't be the one to talk about it anyway, but if anything were to happen, I'm not going to let it slide. No way! I am definitely not going to forgive it. You better be ready.
And then, Rachel started sobbing. Could it be that this is what they call mother-in-law and daughter-in-law problems? I panicked and ran over to Rachel, but then my mom had a scary look on her face as she left the living room. I rubbed Rachel's back for a short while, but then...
I'm sorry. Even though we just moved and you just changed jobs and you must be so busy, and yet I'm making you worry about this. Paul.
Rachel said that to me as she apologized. It was true. In order to move here, I recently moved into a different department, and I was busy trying to get used to my new work quickly. Because of that, I may not have been spending enough time with my family, and it was partly my responsibility that my mother and my wife were having problems. I should be the one apologizing to you. I wasn't able to make time to be together. I'm really sorry. So what happened between you and my mom?
Today I was invited by Melissa to go to a cafe, but when I talked about that, your mom started saying bad things about Melissa, and without thinking, I snapped back at her to please stop talking about Melissa like that. And then we got into an argument.
Melissa was Rachel's only friend in this neighborhood. This town was out in the suburbs, and many of the residents were elderly, and there were very few young people. I could understand why Rachel got frustrated that her only friend was being spoken poorly of. I wonder what on earth my mom was so upset about. Saying, if anything were to happen, that she's not going to let it slide? To be ready? Of course Rachel would be scared if my mom spoke to her like that. By the time I finished listening to Rachel's story, it was already late at night. I put Rachel to sleep, and I also laid down in bed. The next morning, I was worried to leave the two of them at home and to go to the office. But because I had just transferred departments, I couldn't cause trouble to my new colleagues. And also today was the day that my mom said she was going to hang out with one of her former colleagues, so they shouldn't be left at home alone for the whole day. My mom retired a couple of years ago, but she's a former nurse. She said that she was going to go shopping with a few of her former colleagues from those days. However, while Rachel was hanging up the laundry, my mom was having breakfast, and she said this to me. Mom, I heard from Rachel, but that was awful of you. For Rachel, Melissa is her only friend here, and
that's exactly why I'm saying I won't forgive her.
Huh? What are you saying? Are you saying that you can't forgive Rachel for having friends? Anyway, don't say anything like that to Rachel ever again, okay?
I can't make that promise.
Hey, Mom! That was when Rachel came back into the living room, so the conversation stopped. After I went to the office, I took any time that I could in between work to stay in touch with Rachel and my mom. And if anything were to happen, I thought I should set myself up so that I could leave at any time. But then, just after the lunch break, I got a text from Rachel. I was invited by Melissa to go to the nearby mountain range to forage some mountain vegetables, she said. It was already hard enough for my wife to be out here in the suburbs, not getting along with her mother-in-law, and I didn't want to make her stress anymore. I replied, "You should go and have fun." After that, we exchanged a few messages, but perhaps she didn't have any service out in the mountains, and for a few hours, I didn't hear from her. However, when 6 o'clock rolled around, and I messaged her that I was on my way home, I didn't get a reply, which I always did from Rachel. It was dark outside already, so I was sure she should have left the mountain by now. My heart started racing, and when I got out of the train station, I sprinted back home. But when I got there, the house was dark, and neither Rachel nor my mom were home. My mom had told me in advance that she might be coming home late, but it was strange that Rachel wasn't there. I threw my work shoes on the living room sofa, and I ran out the front door. And I headed straight towards Miss Melissa's house. When I rang the doorbell, the person that came out was Mr. John.
Oh, hello, Mr. Paul. You're so out of breath. What's the matter?
I just wanted to ask if perhaps Rachel's here right now.
Miss Rachel? Who knows?
That was when Miss Tammy came out and said,
That reminds me, didn't Melissa say after lunch she was going out into the mountain to forage some mountain vegetables with Miss Rachel? Hey, Melissa!
When Miss Tammy called out into the back of the house, Miss Melissa came out, and...
Hey, Melissa, is it true that you went out into the mountains with Miss Rachel in the afternoon?
Yeah, I went, but we parted ways in the evening at the train station. Mr. Paul, could it be that Miss Rachel still hasn't gotten home?
Yes, she hasn't opened any of my messages either.
Rachel told me that things weren't going well with her mother-in-law. Are you sure that this isn't your mother's doing that Rachel is missing?
I grabbed my phone and I called my mom, and I thought about confronting her. But then, my mom didn't answer the phone either. Why isn't she answering the phone? Could it be that my mom actually did something? This is suspicious. It's way too suspicious. It was already nighttime, and I didn't want to cause any more trouble to Melissa or her family, so I apologized for bothering them, and I ran back towards my house again. All I could do was pray that she was home. However, the moment that I opened the gate to my house, I saw a shocking sight in front of me, and I froze on the spot! To my disbelief, my mom was standing at the front door, looking like a monster with a hose in hand, and she was blasting Rachel with water! When I looked more closely, Rachel was sobbing and her clothes were completely ragged, and all across her body there were multiple cuts and bruises! I can't believe my mom did this! I immediately ran over and got in between Rachel and my mom, and I held Rachel. Hey, Mom! What the hell are you doing? Rachel was shaking from head to toe in my arms.
Paul, just stop getting in the way! This is the only thing we can do!
The only thing we can do? What are you saying? You know it's December right now, right? Even if this was the mother that raised me, I will never, ever forgive her for doing this to my wife that I love! But then it was at that moment,
Thank you.
with tears streaming down her face, Rachel said that. I just continued to hold Rachel. I'm sorry, Rachel. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to protect you from my mom. However, what? To my disbelief, Rachel shook my arms off of her and stood up.
Miss Penny, thank you.
She walked into the freezing water coming out of the hose as she thanked my mom. What's going on? From there, my mom continued, and while continuing to pour the water over Rachel, she explained the situation to me. And when I heard the shocking truth, I was furious! That bastard! I'll never forgive them! And so, with my mom's suggestion, we decided to ask a very powerful person for help, and we began preparations to take down the evil monster and get revenge. Because this powerful person quickly agreed to help us, our preparations went smoothly, and by the next day, we were able to solidify our plan to get revenge on the monster. Well then, let me explain to you now what had happened. Myself, my mother, and Rachel, as well as that powerful person, all headed towards...
Coming! Oh, my, Miss Rachel, you were safe after all. We were all so worried about you. You know, Melissa was crying the whole time.
That's right! It was Miss Tammy's house. We're terribly sorry to make you worry. Is Miss Melissa home right now?
What? Yeah, she's here. Melissa!
And that was when, from somewhere back in the house, we heard a loud, crashing noise echo throughout. Rachel, my mom, and I, as well as Miss Tammy, all went around to the back of the house when...
Ouch!
We saw Miss Melissa there, behind the house, laid out on the ground, along with a bucket and a broom, and standing right next to her was Paige. That's right. The powerful person that we asked for help this time was Paige, but...
It seems she didn't expect anybody to be out of the house, so she was shocked when she saw me and she tripped. It looks like she was trying to escape from the bathroom window over there. Are you okay?
And this is why Paige is the best. Miss Melissa might try to run away, so I'm gonna go around and wait behind the house. That's what she said earlier, but it seems she hit the nail in the head.
Miss Melissa, nice to meet you. My name is Paige and I'm a lawyer.
That's right. My little sister Paige was a lawyer.
Lawyer?
Miss Melissa visibly started to shake and panic.
You left Rachel out in the mountains to die, didn't you?
Huh? I would never!
Too bad. No matter how much you try to play dumb, it's pointless. There are people who saw you coming down from the mountain by yourself, and we've already researched into it.
That's right. Miss Melissa, to our disbelief, had left Rachel out in the mountains. Rachel risked her life and somehow got down from the mountain, but she tripped and fell in the pitch-black mountains, and she scratched herself on trees and branches, and that's why she looked like that. The reason why my mom was showering her with a hose was because as a former nurse, she knew that anytime you were scratched by unknown plants, that you can't put hot water on it, and the best thing to do is rinse it with cold water and soap. Even though you're the criminal that left Rachel out in the mountains, you have some nerve putting on an act like you were actually worried about Rachel. When I said that to Melissa,
What did you say?
that was when Mr. John appeared.
Honey!
I was out buying the groceries, and when I got home, I heard voices from behind the house. And when I got here, hey, Melissa, what's going on?
Hey, it's all a misunderstanding.
Miss Melissa had sweat streaming down her forehead, and she panicked.
You. Even in this situation, are you still planning on lying? You know, ever since the beginning, I've had a bad feeling about you. I knew that you were up to no good, and I was so worried that you were going to do something to Rachel. That's why I told her to be careful about you. But it was just a feeling. I couldn't tell her not to go near you based on that. But I heard you say this to Paul, that maybe it was my doing that Rachel disappeared. Why would that ever be the case? You know, Rachel is my precious daughter.
Miss Penny.
That's right. The reason why my mom had said, if anything were to happen that I'm not gonna let it slide, to be ready, was not actually towards Rachel, but she was talking about Melissa.
That's exactly what I hated about you!
Suddenly, Miss Melissa started crying and yelling.
Rachel! She's always talking about how much your family gets along, and all she does is brag, and it was irritating! Even though every single day I'm stuck here being harassed by my mother-in-law! What on earth are you saying?
Miss Tammy raised her voice, and everybody turned around. While the commotion was going on, Miss Tammy had brought a travel bag from inside the house, and she threw it in front of Melissa, who was sitting on the ground.
Don't tell me you're talking about when I ask you to help out with the chores even just a little bit, or when I tell you to be careful when you're drowning yourself in alcohol every day. Or when I yell at you to stop stealing money out of John's wallet. Are you trying to say that's harassment?
because...
You were never like this when we got married, but you take advantage of my mom's kindness? And you were just getting carried away, weren't you?
Well, that's, you see... And now you done this to a third party. Hurry up and get out of this house. Get out. But my family has already disowned me. Where am I supposed to go then?
Melissa was throwing a tantrum, but Miss Tammy and Mr. John ignored her and turned to us.
Miss Rachel, Miss Penny, Mr. Paul, we are truly terribly sorry.
We are so sorry.
They got down on their knees and apologized. However, Melissa continued to cause a commotion and was screaming, so...
At this rate, it's going to disturb the neighbors. It is cold outside, so Miss Melissa, why don't you come to my office for now?
When Paige chimed in, Miss Tammy grabbed Melissa's bag, and then Mr. John grabbed Melissa by the arm.
Hey, stop it! Stop it! I said let me go!
Mr. John dragged Melissa over to the car and threw her inside. When Paige saw that, she also got into her car. And the two cars drove off together. The whole time, Melissa was crying and slamming on the door in the back seat, and it seemed like she was yelling something at us. But due to the thick windows, we couldn't hear anything she said, and she didn't get her last words in the end. After that, it was a given that Miss Melissa and Mr. John got divorced. Because Paige was an extremely brilliant lawyer, Rachel was able to receive a very high settlement fee from Miss Melissa. Because our family had a reliable little sister named Paige, this time we didn't need to go to the police. And this was how the incident closed. But after being kicked out of the house, Melissa was stuck having to pay a very high settlement fee. And because she had to take out a loan from Consumer Finances, she also had to get a job in order to pay back the loan. However, she couldn't find anywhere to live, and we were shocked to hear that she snuck back into the house and was trying to live in Miss Tammy's attic. Of course, she had given the key back to Miss Tammy already, so apparently she was sneaking in and out of the bathroom window. Rachel saw that one day, and Melissa was arrested for trespassing. It seemed she'd been stealing money and other things from Miss Tammy and Mr. John, so it looked like she won't be able to roam freely for a while. Well then, as for our family, after this one incident, it seemed like Rachel was getting along with my mom even more than me. Sometimes, it almost seems like Rachel and my mom are the family related by blood, instead of me and my mom. That reminds me, after the incident, Rachel and I got down on our knees to apologize to my mom. I'm sorry, Mom. I can't believe that I misunderstood, and I thought that you were terrorizing Rachel.
If only I had listened to you from the beginning, Miss Penny, none of this would have happened. I truly am sorry. Both of you, please get up. Regardless of what happened, the case is closed. Now we can celebrate.
I'm home! Wait, you're both still apologizing to Mom?
Paige!
Miss Paige, thank you so much for everything you did to help us. Thank you.
I've heard that too many times now. More importantly, guys, I brought the ingredients for the chicken hot pot tonight. And of course, soba noodles to finish.
All right, well, let's get to preparing then.
Oh, I will help too.
Well then, me too.
Paul, you can go buy the alcohol. Miss Rachel, please boil the noodles. And Paige, please cut up the ingredients. I'll get all of the other appetizers prepared.
Got it! All right, I'm going to put my all into preparing for this dinner. My name is Paige. I'm a 28-year-old working in an office. After I graduated college, I've been working at this same company since. But every day was really busy, and before I knew it, 6 years had already passed. Recently, work was especially busy, and I was just starting to think that we were understaffed. Hey, don't you think we're crazy busy these days? By the time I got home yesterday, it was already past 9 o'clock. I was past the point of hunger, and I fell straight asleep. Yeah, I totally get it. I also got home around the same time too. You know, I hate to say it, but ever since stuff happened to that person, a lot of people have resigned. I'm also shaking in my seat every day, wondering whether I'm going to become their next target. What? That person? Who are you talking about?
You can be so clueless sometimes, Paige. Do you really not know who I'm talking about? Well, I do think that's one of the great things about you, though. You know, Miss Karen, who's been working in this department the longest, who they call the authority?
What? But Miss Karen is always so quiet. What on earth are you saying she did?
Remember last year when there were talks that she was going to be promoted to the division manager?
Oh yeah, I do remember rumors that were going around at some point.
It turns out she lost the fight for that position to her colleague, Mr. John.
That's right, I remember. It was so unexpected that Mr. John got that position. And I remember that time everybody was happy about it for some reason.
Ever since then, Miss Karen's personality completely changed. Or maybe her true nature came out. That's how it feels. For every little thing, she tries to pull everybody's leg. Anyway, I think it would be best for you not to go near Miss Karen either, Paige.
This person was my colleague and my best friend, Nancy. Unlike me, she's very sensitive on how the world moves around her. And I feel like she always has her antenna pointing up. And in this way, she always tells me information that maybe I hadn't noticed, and it's really helpful. Even still, about Miss Karen, just hearing it sends shivers down my spine. If she's making people so miserable that they resign, I wonder how bad it is. On that day, I ended up spending the rest of my time at my desk, thinking about Miss Karen. I did my work while thinking. I definitely have to make sure I don't get involved with Miss Karen.
This paperwork goes to the directors, and then this material is for the planning department. And lastly, this material goes to the HR department.
All right, I need to hurry up and get it finished.
I was holding a lot of material and walking down the hallway in the office when...
Wah! Ouch, ouch! Hey, you! Watch where you're walking! I'm sorry. Oh, Miss Karen. So irritating. What is it? How can you walk through this narrow hallway without looking where you're going?
If I were to get hurt, are you going to take responsibility for it?
I'm sorry. I'll be more careful next time.
Wait a minute. Aren't you Paige in the same department? Until now, I hadn't even felt the slightest presence from you.
And yet look at you bumping into me like this.
And now I'm going to make sure I remember your name very, very well.
Wait, what? Oh, this is super terrifying. I was panicking that I needed to hurry up and get the paperwork where I needed to go when I bumped into Mrs. Karen turning the corner. I immediately knew that this was bad, and it seemed now that Miss Karen had her eyes set on me. That's right. Ever since that day, I became Miss Karen's next target. Hey, this material, it's full of typos and mistakes. Who the hell created it? What? The one in your hand was me? You. How many times do I have to correct you for you to get it? Even a little kid in elementary school would be able to do something this simple. Or could it be that you're actually below an elementary school kid, huh?
I think it would be best for you to start over from elementary school then.
I'm very sorry. I will fix it immediately.
Oh, whatever. It's fine. I already fixed it for you.
Aren't you so lucky that you have such a brilliant boss like me in the same department? Especially when there's somebody around as useless as you. It's only going to cause trouble for everybody around you. Seriously, I wish I could get back the time I've wasted on you. I am very sorry about that. Until now, even the material that the person who noticed the mistake could easily fix, Miss Karen would go digging for the smallest mistakes made by me. And then she would use it to attack me in front of everyone. However, that wasn't all.
Hey you! The material for the upcoming meeting, I need you to make 100 copies by tomorrow morning.
What? Do you need that many?
What? Do you have some kind of complaint? Don't you remember who fixed your mistakes for you? Surely you haven't forgotten. Today, I have very, very important plans after work, and I need you to leave right at 6 o'clock.
Sure.
What? Are you talking back again? Are you going to do it or not? But you don't have a choice anyway.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be sure to copy them. 100 copies by tomorrow morning. Yes, ma'am.
That's right. I'm counting on you. Anyway, I need to fix my makeup and get ready to leave. I still haven't even finished my own work. What am I supposed to do? And without a doubt, I'm definitely working overtime today. I wonder what time I'm going to be able to go home. Days like this continued without end, and to be honest, I was exhausted and I was physically and mentally broken. The first person who noticed that in me was my best friend Nancy. Are you okay? You're completely pale.
I guess I couldn't hide it, but every day like this is too much. I'm being drowned in her harassment and my motivation is gone. I was thinking that I can understand the reason why people resigned.
What are you saying, Paige? Surely you're not thinking about resigning yourself, are you?
Yeah, well, I am thinking about working hard for a little bit longer, but when I think about this continuing for years after this, to be honest, I can't take it. I spoke to Nancy for the first time in a while at the office, but I couldn't even joke around. I really felt that I was reaching my limit soon. However, paying no mind to my mental state, Miss Karen only continued to dump more onto me.
Yo, hey! How many times are you going to make the same mistake before you're satisfied?
What?
If you're thinking about trying to cover it up, think again! The accounting material that was turned in yesterday, you did it, didn't you?
No, I believe it wasn't me. What? I don't know what she's talking about. It wasn't me.
Excuse me? What are you saying? Before you talk back to me, you're not even going to apologize first?
What? But I wasn't involved in any of that material. Excuse me?
After you lie, now you're going to make an excuse? Seriously, what you're doing right now is exactly what worthless people do. You're no fit for this company, and anybody that's not adding to the company has no value. You're a waste of human resources and salary. We don't need useless employees like you.
There's nothing I can do anymore. Until I quit, this person is only going to continue attacking me. That's what I realized. And at the same time, I started to get irritated that I was being blamed for something I didn't even do. I was so furious that I looked down and I was shaking in anger. When Miss Karen saw that, she must have thought that I was shrinking from her attacks and she piled on more.
The fact that you're quiet must mean that you're acknowledging that this mistake was your responsibility. So when you're in trouble, you can't even speak up. You truly are useless. Why don't you just quit already? We don't need you here.
I can't do this anymore. I've reached my limit. Something snapped inside of me. So this person is the type that doesn't even recognize just how awful she's being until someone gives her a taste of her own medicine. Isn't that fantastic? She better watch and weep. That's right. That was when I decided that I was going to get back at this woman who was up on her high horse.
I understand. Gasp. Did you just say that you understand? You finally accepted. You're finally resigning. Goodbye. Attention, everybody. Apparently Miss Paige will be resigning from today. Round of applause.
That's enough. I've already decided with this. I'll be quitting now. When I said that, Miss Karen didn't even try to look at me and went back to her desk. I gathered my belongings. During that time, I contacted my house and asked for a pickup. While I was packing, Miss Karen only continued to harass me.
This useless eyesore is finally going to be gone. With this, it's going to be a much better workplace. It's important to continue getting rid of the worthless bugs here.
However, it was at that moment. All of a sudden, there was a commotion amongst the employees, asking, "Whose is that? Why are there suddenly so many luxury cars lined up outside?" They were all standing by the window and looking outside. Of course, the shrewd Miss Karen was also glued to the window, looking at all the luxury cars lined up outside and the handsome men coming out of them. After After I finished gathering my belongings, I thanked everybody for their time and left the office. But Miss Karen still ignored me. I had no choice but to stomp over to the front door of the office by myself. But then, from behind me, I heard Miss Karen's footsteps running towards the front door. It seems she had a very big misunderstanding. When she came out of the office, this is what she had to say.
What is this? Could it be? Has my prince carriage come to pick me up on his white horse just like I dreamed of? It looks like it worked for me to give everybody my phone number at the last group date. I bet all the handsome guys have come here to pick me up today. I have spent so much time and money for this very moment participating in all kinds of group dates and singles parties. They came to get me faster than I thought. This is the best!
There's obviously no way that's the case. And then when she found me there, this is what she said.
Hey! You useless resigned ex-employee, you need to move from there. If you're standing in a place like that, this group of handsome guys won't be able to find me. Now move!
Whoa! Hey! Ow! Miss Karen shoved me with an extreme force. However, it was at that moment.
Are you okay, madam?
Huh? One of those handsome men said that to me, so of course Miss Karen was shocked. Ouch. Thanks. Sorry, I'm fine. More importantly, you did not have to come here like this to pick me up.
Not at all. Of course we won't let that happen. In reality, it's a basic for us to take you to and from work. But Madam Paris, you always insist on going by yourself. And that's why, whenever you do make a request, we will drop whatever work we have to come pick you up.
And the second handsome man escorted me into his car. Seeing this, Miss Karen was no longer able to keep her mouth shut.
Hey, what? Madam? You're a madam? But I thought these princes were here to pick me up. Are you telling me they came here to pick up this woman who can't even do her job?
I guess so. And then the third handsome guy glared at Miss Karen with sharp eyes.
So, you must be the Miss Karen that we've heard about. It seems you've done quite the awful things. We will never forgive you for what you've done. So we took the liberties of looking into your background and all of the terrible things that you've done.
Hey! What? What? Wait, what? What is going on here?
She was completely unable to grasp the situation, and Miss Karen was stunned. That's right, Mrs. Karen's hobby was to go on group dates, and it seemed like she truly believed that someday her prince would come to pick her up on a white horse. And yet all of the handsome men in front of her had come to pick me up. And not only that, but when she found out that her actions had all been exposed, she was completely pale. All these people, these men, are my very, very brilliant butlers. Excuse me?
You have some nerve harassing Madam like this every single day. Even if the company forgave you, we will never ever forgive you for as long as we're alive. Exactly. You should be prepared. We have plenty of evidence already as well. We've already presented a substantial amount of evidence to your company. I'm sure you will be receiving your punishment any day now.
What? What is that supposed to mean? What evidence?
Oh, I guess you didn't know, Karen. The CEO of this company and my mother are siblings. That's why when the CEO found out that I was going to be quitting, he asked me what on earth was the reason. That's why I told him the truth. All of it. That because of you, countless people had also resigned until now.
Not only is the CEO going to fire you, he said that he's also going to sue you for your embezzlement of company finances, stealing company property, and your harassment of the other employees. And as for your countless offenses to Madam, after you take responsibility for the above, we will be talking to you about that as well.
No way!
Well then, I'm going to excuse myself here from now. Miss Karen, I'm sure you're going to be sued and receive punishment from all kinds of directions, but I hope you can acknowledge them as your mistakes.
No! If I get fired, I have nowhere else to go. I'll apologize for everything until now, so please forgive me!
Miss Karen was crying and yelling and apologizing, but I ignored her and I got into the luxury cars and went home. I was able to say what I wanted to say in the end, and I felt so refreshed. That's right. After that, of course, Miss Karen was fired from the company. Within the people who resigned from the harassment that they received from Miss Karen, apparently there was someone who had recorded the harassment that they were receiving from her. There were also some people who became so terrified of other people that they were getting treatment in the hospital for it. Well, that's the extent of how severe her harassment of people was. It was only a given that she was let go from her job. And Miss Karen, not only was she fired from the company, of course she was sued from all directions. And everybody says they're going to take Miss Karen down and work together. Take that! And as for me,
Phew, I am so glad that you came back, Paige. Well, I didn't think that you were actually going to quit, though.
no, but in reality, it's the truth that I thought about quitting because I didn't know what to do anymore.
Even though it may not seem like it, it was really difficult. But you know, when you said that you were gonna quit and leave, everything became a disaster here. Nobody could get anything done.
What, really?
Yeah, really? Everybody started to say that they were also going to quit, and a number of people brought their resignation letters and barged into the CEO's office. Well, I was one of those people too.
I had no idea. I'm sorry I made you worry like that. But from now on, I'm going to reset my feelings and put my all into this job. So let's work hard together. Thank you for watching! What kind of crazy people will we get to see next? Stay tuned for more!